You want to wow the one hiring. This is your opportunity to shine with your enthusiasm and knowledge about the position that you're applying for. But you don't just want to make it about you here either. Weave the company's mission statement and values throughout. Let them know that you've done your research and tell them why you line up with their mission. Let them know why you're excited to contribute to their goals. Welcome to another episode of the Workforce Link podcast, where we're offering forward-thinking conversations for the workforce, linking employers and job seekers to a brighter tomorrow. I'm your host, Sunday Jo Graham with the Central Workforce Development Region, and I am glad to be back with you for another episode of the Workforce Link podcast. So I'm about to share something with you that's going to rock your world. Are you ready for this? According to a 2018 study done by Ladders, you only have 7.4 seconds to get a recruiter's attention. And I would say today that that's probably less than that. And I'm going to share the link to that study in the show notes if you want to dive further into it. It's very interesting. Finding that dream job you want isn't always easy, right? You have to put in the extra work. You have to answer all the questions. You have to make sure your resume is in tip-top shape. And then you hope for the best, right? But wait, there's more. You ever hear that in the infomercials, But wait, there's more. There is more. You need a cover letter. And I am emphasizing the word need here. What happens if you don't have the writing skills that you need to create that cover letter? What do you do if you don't know what to say? How in the world do you create a formal letter that's supposed to impress the employer? Don't panic, okay? We're going to talk about that in today's episode of the Workforce Link podcast. We will face your fears together. Before we do that, though, I would love to ask you a favor. I'd love for you to share this podcast with others. Do you know somebody who needs some help finding that dream job and could benefit from this episode? Let them know about this podcast. We want to help as many people as possible win in the workforce, and word of mouth is the best way to make that happen. You and your friends can listen to the Workforce Link podcast on pretty much any platform out there. Apple, Spotify, you name it. We're pretty much everywhere, so it's easy for you to spread the word. And thank you in advance for being willing to tell others about it. All right, so now that we've taken care of that, let's dive into today's episode on how to write a cover letter worth noticing. So you may know this already, but I want to go back to the basics for just a second, okay? Let's talk about exactly what a cover letter is. And maybe you're thinking, Sunday Jo, seriously, I think we all know what a cover letter is. I get that. Stick with me just for a minute, okay? Because there might be somebody who doesn't. So before we dig deeper, I just want to cover our basics. So a cover letter is a short, and notice I said short, letter that's written directly to the person who will review your resume or your job application. And believe it or not, it's not always a person. If you are applying for a position at a larger company, the chances that your cover letter will be read by a robot before it ever gets to a human is very, very likely, okay? We'll talk more on that later. Your cover letter provides the opportunity for you to impress the one doing the hiring. It's a chance to highlight your skills. It's a place to tell your story and talk about your experience. It's not just a place, though, that says, hey, look how awesome I am. But it's a place to shower your awesomeness throughout the letter. Make sense? The last thing you want to do is create a boring cover letter. You want one that stands out. Remember, you're fighting for the job you want, and so are a lot of other people. Your cover letter needs to say, without saying it, hey, hire me because I'm amazing and I'm going to make your company better. Right? So we're going to talk about how to write a cover letter that's going to knock the socks off the hiring manager. Before we talk about what to do, let's start with what not to do. Number one, don't use a cookie cutter template, okay? There are plenty of cover letter templates out there that you can get started with. I'm not saying don't do that. They have a specific format. Nothing wrong with that. But you need to personalize it. Don't just copy and paste something that doesn't describe you at all, okay? Don't open up a cover letter template from Word and just tweak a few words to make it look like you wrote it. That does not work. It does not make you unique. Your cover letter needs to tell the employer why you want to work there and why you're the one they need to hire. You can't do that with a cookie cutter template, so be very careful. You can think about it this way. If you're texting a friend, because does anybody write letters anymore? You personalize that text, right? This is exactly what you need to do with your cover letter. You need to make it personal. Your cover letter should be personalized for each job you're applying for. Each job, okay? Do not send the same cover letter for 3 different positions. There is no personalization there, right? And I get that this might be time consuming, but guess what? That's okay, because nothing worth having comes easy, right? You've got to be willing to do the work up front to get the results you want. So do your research and get to know the company that's hiring. What's their mission statement? Put that in your cover letter to let them know, hey, I'm paying attention. I've done my homework, right? Okay, number 2, don't use a bunch of colors and crazy fonts. Your resume and cover letter should match in font, if at all possible. But don't try to use a bunch of fancy fonts that nobody can see. Employers are busy. They don't have time for that. Don't overdo it, okay? Because remember, you're being professional. It's okay to use colors, but stick with a color theme. So let me give you an example. I helped a client with her resume and cover letter a few weeks ago. She has a very bright and popping personality. So I used a pink color theme for both. And I used the same fonts in those. And it gave more personality in her resume and her cover letter, but it wasn't tacky, right? Make sense? Okay, so number 3, don't use cliches. So this applies the same as not using a cookie cutter template that's the same all the time, or we're going to talk about a little later, making your greeting lame. You want to make sure your words are interesting. Remember that you only have 7.4 seconds to get their attention. So find new ways to come up with the same old sentences that have always been used, okay? Don't say, I have exceptional written skills. If that's the case, they can see it in your resume, right? You've already shown them. You don't need to tell them. Don't say, I think outside of the box. What if instead of saying that, you told them a story, a quick story, by the way, about a time that you creatively solved a problem? Again, by doing this, you're showing them, not just telling them. Get creative here, okay? Don't do the same thing everybody else is doing. All right, so we've talked about what not to do. Now let's talk about what to do. First thing you want to do, put your contact information in the header. Your contact information should be on both your resume and your cover letter at the top in the same places. Don't make people guess, okay? So you want to include your name, your phone number, your email, and depending on your field of work, you can put other follow-up information. Like you can put a link to your LinkedIn account, your website. If you're doing something creative and you have a portfolio, give a link to the portfolio of your work. And if you don't have these, that's okay? Put all of this information under your name at the top of the page, which personally is my favorite place, or you can put it in the top right corner. Again, I suggest, just my preference, I suggest the center top because it's just, right there in your face. Now, here's something else that I recommend adding because it makes you stand out and looks like you've done your homework, because you have, right? On the left side below the header, put the name of the person that you are addressing, if you have their name. And you're probably going to have to do a little bit of research to find this, but do some digging, and many times you can find it. Search their website, see if you can find a name. Search for the HR person or the owner on LinkedIn, okay? Do your homework. And this is just my opinion, so do with it what you will, but if you have this information, put it on there. Only if you can't find it should you leave it off, all right? Number 2, perfect your greeting. Please, 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 and one more please, for the love of all things cover letter writing, do not start out with "to whom it may concern" or "dear sir" or "madam." Okay? We are not living in 1985, and it makes you sound like a robot. Okay? Use the name of the hiring manager if at all possible. If that's not possible, use the name of the company. Say something like "Dear ABC team," or "Dear hiring manager," or "Dear ABC hiring manager." Okay? Try to make it as personal as possible. And again, make those last 2 examples I gave you your last resort. If you have the name, put the name, okay? Hey there, taking a quick break from this episode to share something with you. Picture yourself standing behind the corner at a shoe store. A customer walks in and wants to buy the best pair of shoes you have. They want a quality product, but also want to save money. There's another shoe store across the street having a huge sale, but the customer came to you first. You only have a few minutes to explain why the customer should buy your shoes versus the shoes across the street. You help the customer try the shoes on, all the while explaining the benefits of the cushioning, the upgraded technology, the comfort, and not to mention how fantastic they look. Think of your elevator pitch the same way when you're in a job interview with a potential employer. Your elevator pitch is a brief explanation describing the benefits of buying a product, except you are the product. An elevator pitch is one of the most important tools you have when applying for a job. When you position yourself with confidence, clearly summarizing your experience, your skills, your desirable characteristics, the employer is ready to listen. Put in a nutshell, you're gonna impress the employer. And we wanna help. That's why we created How to Create the Perfect Elevator Pitch, a free guide with 4 proven simple steps that will help you wow your next employer. You can download it for free at cwdregion.com/elevator pitch. That's cwdregion.com/elevator pitch. And now, back to the show. Number 3, hook them with an eye-catching headline. So you need to start with a catchy opening line, right? You have 7.4 seconds to impress them. 7.4 seconds. Give them something in the very beginning that's going to make them want to stick around. If you're a music lover, think about it this way. If the song doesn't catch your attention in the first few seconds, are you going to listen to the rest of the song? Probably not. Why would you listen to a 3-minute and 30 song if the first 2 lines don't impress you, right? It's the same here. Make your opening line stand out appearance-wise, okay? Make it bold, a little bit larger than the rest of the text. Here's actually a few ideas to help get your mind rolling on this, okay? Use words or phrases that the company uses. What's their mission statement? How do you fit in with their culture? Show them that you do that in the very beginning. Maybe you have your own mission statement. This is kind of like an elevator pitch to sell yourself to the hiring manager, right? I'll give you an example of mine. I'm Sunday Joe. I'm a caring, compassionate, thought-provoking communicator who loves to offer hope to others. So this fits into a number of jobs that I could apply for: a career manager, employment specialist, a marketing director, social worker, other types of management, etc., right? It shows that I care about people, shows that I'm a thinker, that I'm a creator, that I'm a great communicator, right? Tell the hiring manager who you are. If the company sells a product, have you ever used that product before? Tell them about it. Tell them a story about it. What did you feel like after you used the product? How did you get drawn to the product? Remember that you want to grab their attention. All right, number 4, tell them why you want the job. So this is where you get to wow the one hiring, okay? This is your opportunity to shine with your enthusiasm and your knowledge about the position you're applying for. But you don't just want to make it about you here either, okay? It's not all about you. Make sure you weave the company's mission statement and values throughout that. Let them know that you've done your research. Tell them why you line up with their mission. Let them know why you're excited to contribute to their specific goals if you know those goals. So tell them why you want the job. Number 5, highlight your specific skills for the job. So write a few sentences here, letting them know that you have the skills for the job. This is where you want to be confident in your abilities. This is where you want to include both hard and soft skills. We actually did specific episodes on understanding hard and soft skills. So if you want to go back and hone in on how to perfect those on your cover letter, go back and listen to those episodes. I believe it's episode 3 and episode 6 of season 1, and I will share the link in those show notes so that they will be easier to find for you. This is also your opportunity to tell them what you can bring to the team. What do they do, right, that lines up with your passion that will produce great results for their company? What are your core motivations and how do they line up with the skills that you have to help the company move forward? Do not write a book here, okay? We're keeping this short. Be clear and concise, but make sure you're excited. And number 6, you want to make the ask. You have to ask for the interview. Don't just assume that they know you want it, okay? Yes, that's obvious, but you are trying to keep their attention. Ask for the interview in the closing paragraph of your cover letter. Make it one of the last things the employer sees. Statistics actually show that those who ask for the interview in their cover letter are twice as likely to get the interview. I actually dedicated a whole episode to this in season 1, episode 8, why you need to ask this question on your cover letter. Again, I'll share the link in the show notes to make that easier for you. But I provide some specific examples and scenarios on how to ask this question correctly. Again, I'll share it in the show notes for you. So make the ask. Number 7, do a final review. Spelling, grammar, and accuracy are vital, okay? Every detail of your cover letter should be right on. Check it again for typos. And don't just do a word spell check. Actually print it off, read it out loud, send it to a friend, ask them to edit it for you. Or if you need some more help, you can contact our Missouri Job Center staff. Ask for their assistance too. That's what we have people there to do to help you. So if you need some assistance, don't be afraid to ask, okay? You want to keep your cover letter at around 300 words. It's short, it's to the point, but it's packing a powerful punch, okay? That's what makes you stand out. Show them why you're a good fit. Make sure your resume is doing the talking for you. That's what's going to get you in for the interview, right? Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we went over today in order to write a cover letter worth noticing. Number 1, don't use a cookie cutter template. Number 2, don't use a bunch of crazy colors and fonts. Number 3, don't use cliches. Number 4, do put your contact information in the header. Number 5, do perfect your greeting. Number 6, hook them with an eye-catching headline. 7, tell them why you want the job. Number 8, highlight your specific skills for the job. Number 9, make the ask. And number 10, do a final review. Remember that you only have 7.4 seconds to impress whoever it is reading your resume. Don't waste the opportunity. Spend time investing in a cover letter that sells, and guess what? You will reap the rewards later. I hope this episode was helpful for you today, and if so, please share with others. And if you haven't already, don't forget to go and leave us a review. And again, if you need some assistance with creating a winning cover letter, a resume, or both, don't hesitate to reach out to our Central Missouri Job Centers for assistance from one of our career managers. You can find your closest job center at cwdregion.com/job centers. Have a great week, and we will meet again in the next episode. Until then, remember this: there's always a brighter tomorrow if you're willing to find it. The Central Region Workforce Development Board Incorporated and COPIC are equal opportunity employers and programs. Auxiliary aids and services are available upon request to individuals with disabilities. Missouri Relay Services at 711.